This video is brought to you by BetUS Sportsbook and Casino.
Welcome to Boss Cowboy Sports, and this video is brought to you by BetUS, where you can receive 125% bonus on your first few deposits up to $2,000. So make sure y'all check that out and try to make some money off your knowledge. So obviously we are getting into Competition Tuesday. This is something we've been doing for some time, and we've been very consistent at this to help improve the team through internal competition. So, and we go just kind of go through this and show some film. So y'all make sure y'all stay with this, because we go show you some, pretty nice clips that's going to answer some questions. But it's some competitions that obviously intrigue me. So the first one, I already brought this up. I did a video on this before, but it's something we really need to consider that a lot of people are not talking about. Is that's competition between Trey Lance and Cooper Rush. Because obviously we know after week 1, Jordan Love went down. And what did I say? I said this in the previous video. I said there could be a potential trade opportunity that could come open because a quarterback on a contending team could get hurt. So this is a perfect example of a similar type of quarterback that could maybe be a bridge. So keeping our eye on that and keeping the conversation going is important, especially with Dak being paid. That makes everything different, right? It's done. So now that Dak paid, all the people that wanted to leverage against Dak with Trey Lance, that's done. So from a competitive standpoint, you might have a way of getting your money back from the 4th round wasted draft pick, because what you gonna do with Trey Lance now that you go have Dak for about 5 years? What you gonna do? So it's something where we could consider probably doing that on Competition Tuesdays. So let's keep that in mind. Now, this one a lot of people not talking about, and I'm keeping my own this because obviously there's a quiet competition that's happening for Nickelback. If you ask me, there's a silent competition that's trying to bring his head into the view, because you got to ask the question, because Bland is going to return. Yeah, your all pro defender will be back. And when he come back, what we going to do? Right? So we had the game against the Browns. And so we got some questions that's going to need to be answered over time to keep our eye on this, because you looking at Carson rising. You looking at somebody who had a pretty decent game 1, right? So if I'm looking at a guy and I was taught this by my coach, he could have picked that off. That's amazing. Like, if he would have read that 3-step right, he could have took that to the house. But when I'm looking at Carson, this is what my defensive coordinator, Donna Henderson, taught me a long time ago when I was at the University of Houston. He always taught us that as a coach, you got to make these decisions where if you have an older guy that might be just as good as the younger guy, you always go with the younger guy. But the question is, and we have to ask the question from the film and from game 1 on Competition Tuesday, are you seeing potential improvement from a Carson than you would with a Jordan Lewis being your nickel? You have to ask that question. And the answer to that question could be yes. As of now, from the film, from the toughness, from everything that I saw, Carson is rising. But to me, based on the film, he is not quite the veteran nickel that Jordan Lewis is. And then on top of that, Carson dropped 2 picks. So the former name for Jordan Lewis was who? Ball God. Why? That boy got some sticky hands. So it's, as of now, if I had one game to go off of, I'm still sticking with that Tiger, that vet, Jordan Lewis. It would have to be Diggs, Bland, in my opinion, Jordan Lewis. as your nickel, and Carson is your dime package. He comes in for 4 wide sets. But the guy that's a clear tiger, a clear beast, is still Jordan Lewis. And Jordan Lewis looks like he might be getting ready to have his best year. So on Competition Tuesdays, I want to hear from y'all. Who would you feel more comfortable going with the return of Bland, assuming that we had only one game to judge these two? If we had only one game to judge these two, who you going with? You going with Ball God or you going with Seatbelt? Because right now, just me, and ain't nobody perfectly right on this, but just me, I'm going with Ball God just for now. But I'm keeping my eye on the rise of Carson. So another competition matter that I'm definitely keeping my eye on, because this one is kind of weird to me. The competition between Damone Clark and Nick Vigil. That one is kind of weird to me because Nick came out of nowhere and the movements looks more political than it does common sense. But it might not be political though. There could be some very strong logic in why you would move him onto the roster and give him some significant reps. Now, I looked at all snaps from all the linebackers. I mean, everyone. And when I look at Vigil and I look at Nick didn't make a lot of plays at all, but also the ball honestly didn't come his way a lot. It just was one of those days. But this is play right here kind of pissed me off because he had a chance to really demolish the quarterback and he didn't take it. Like, this has the appearance to me of somebody who want to be a striker but didn't take the strike. And let me tell you something. A linebacker, when you get your chance to hit a quarterback, honestly, you're supposed to tear his head off. A quarterback, no, you're supposed to, yeah. Now, this is the thing. Look at this play. I have the arrow on Vigil. Keep your eye on Clark and watch the pursuit of Clark on this very same play. Because they lined up next to each other. So watch Clark and his pursuit and look at Nick Vigil. Look at where Clark comes from to make this play versus Vigil. And look at the force that Clark tried to bring versus Vigil. See, plays like that allow you to put these guys side by side to make a comparison. And on Competition Tuesdays, I would say I see more force with Clark, at least on that play. Now, when I'm watching Vigil, the thing I do like about him is he knows where to be. He knows how to cover in space. And I saw pretty reliable speed on this particular play. And watching Vigil, the one thing I would say about him is he has very smooth feet. Very smooth feet. So assignment wise, he knows where to be. Now, I'm trying to understand from Zimmer, why is your linebacker covering the deep thirds? I'm trying to understand the mystery of that defense. To me, somebody go take advantage of that. I didn't like that schematically. Because I know, listen, I'm gonna tell y'all something. We do get to those times to where we get so in love with some of these coaches that we don't question. And see, I was one of the first to start questioning Dan Quinn, and I'm just being honest. I'm not understanding the logic of a linebacker covering the deep thirds. I'm not understanding the design of that. I'm not saying where that makes sense. But going back to Vigil. Oh, no, that's not Vigil. Going back to Vigil, that's Clark. Going back to Vigil, Vigil had a couple of times to where he could have made some impactful plays and a tackle for loss that he didn't. Right there. And when I see stuff like that, that made me question you, right? That made me question you, especially because you're a veteran that almost snuck on the team. If they got you having significant snaps, I need you to make plays. And I'm just being all the way honest as I'm judging the film. You had a chance to bust Deshaun Watson in his mouth and you didn't. You had a chance to take and make a play for a tackle for loss and you didn't. So when I compare him to Clark, because see, when we do competition Tuesdays, we look at the film. So when I look at Clark, I see a guy that is not as instinctual covering in space. Because right here, he definitely could have covered in space better, because he know that linebacker is trying to release, but he didn't cover that window well enough, especially because there was no other threats in that area. So I would want to see him find the threat in space and cover up that window better. That would be my knock on what I was seeing on Clark. But then I also saw him do well in some of these coverages in space. So looking at Clark, one of the things that I'm also gonna knock him right here, and listen, y'all, I'm gonna be all the way honest. I'm gonna tell y'all something, and I'm being all the way honest. I never BS when it comes to film. This particular play, I'm just being honest, it pissed me off because it's frankly friendly. It's frankly friendly because he had a chance here to knock Cooper out. Now listen, I'm from that era where it's insulting for a receiver to half step a crack block. So right here they go try to run a pick play, right? This is your chance, even though you clearly see that Amari is trying to run a fake pick play. Well, if he go get in your way, Clark, you should have decapitated Cooper for just trying that. Right there, you should have knocked him out. But you run by him, which to me, I'm just being honest, is friendly. Like when you get a chance to do damage and set the tone as a linebacker, you do it. So if you setting a fake pick on me, I'm getting ready to knock you out. And so I want to see more aggression and toughness and frankly meanness, because a linebacker is supposed to be mean just because. It's like just anybody that I get a chance to hit, I'm going to hit them. That's just period. If you get in my way, you getting hit. And that's what I want to see out of all my linebackers, not just Clark. Clark here does a very good job of making it a hard window. That's what I want to see right there. He made a very hard window for Deshaun Watson and mirrored the receiver very well. Very good coverage in space from Clark. Very good coverage in space from Clark. So just kind of get into the film on Competition Tuesdays, just kind of looking at the guys and comparing them. This is a play right here that gives him the edge on visual to me, because what you see is a guy that's willing to meet force with force. Boom! See, somebody that speeds up at the point of contact is a hitter. That's also was a test of his neck to see was he timid at contact, and he showed no timidity, at least on that play. So as I'm comparing Nick with Clark, I see more force, I see more speed, I see a better upside with Damone Clark than I see with Vigil. And it makes me question, it makes me say, why are they sharing reps, especially knowing that Clark is a son and that Nick is a bastard. When I say bastard, I mean a free agent, because we treat our draft picks like sons and we treat free agents usually like bastards. So for us to be giving Vigil so much playing time is very different out of the pattern of the Dallas Cowboys. So as I'm watching this on Competition Tuesdays, that kind of gives me thought. It makes me wonder why they're doing it. I'm just curious to why. So the last bit of competition that I'm gonna address, being faithful to Competition Tuesday, is the competition that's likely and should spring from tight end. So obviously we getting the news about Ferguson seeming to be ready to play sooner than expected for when he grabbed his knee, right? But I would also say this, I've said this before, Ferguson really does not fit the type that Mike McCarthy historically has played. See, historically, Mike McCarthy has been very, very big on athletic tight ends. Even Schoonmaker, to a degree, is athletic. Remember, he had one of the best RAS scores out of his tight end class. His RAS score was on a level of Kyle Pitts in terms of athleticism. So Mike McCarthy liked them athletic tight ends that stretch the field. So I'm just being honest, on Competition Tuesday, I'm not like most where I'm in a hurry for Ferguson to come out there. I wouldn't want Ferguson out there with a knee brace. If he go come out there with an old bulky knee brace, I would rather you start trying to see what these other guys might have. Because to be frank, the other guys on Competition Tuesday fit Mike McCarthy historically better than even Ferg does. And every now and then, sometimes a superstar can be birthed from just getting an opportunity unexpected. It's just what it is. But this is one of those Competition Tuesdays. We're going to be doing this more and more. We're going to be bringing you the film and doing analysis from games as we even try to improve the roster from within by bringing up discussions that a lot of people might miss. Because sometimes it's parts of your team that you can improve from within, and we have to keep a close eye on the competition. So we got to watch the film. We got to keep an eye on the politics. We got to watch out what could be happening behind the scenes that could cause people that might be worthy to start or not start, or where we can get value where we didn't have a chance to get value. So we're gonna be continue to bring you these type of videos during the season, Competition Tuesday. And again, this video was brought to you by BetUS, where you can receive 125% bonus on your first 3 deposits up to $2,000. So take advantage of your knowledge and support Boss Cowboy Sports by supporting yourself. Bet on your knowledge.
This video is brought to you by BetUS Sportsbook and Casino.